Fitness Pro Mentor community, welcome to another episode. I'm really excited because honestly, I love people who are helping make it rain. And I'm here with Mr. Jay Braun, who is a mentor like no other, who is an inventor, a mentor, an exercise educator, a gym owner. I don't even know how he does it all, but Jay Braun, round two, PureTorque, Title Elite Performance Center. What's up, man? How are you doing today?
Yeah. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. We'll caveat that you left out father of two.
Hey,
That's
I can
the
relate
most
to that.
important. Yeah, we have to prompt that. The most important thing I am is a father of two.
Father of two, all entrepreneur with two businesses. You're an educator, and you got a sick fish tank.
Yeah. It's nice. The fish tank's actually been here as long as everything else in this gym. There's the big fish in there. There's a big catfish in there that's 18 years old.
What?
Yeah, 18 years old. It won't die. And there was some mass fish pesticide going on. They're African cichlids. So, I mean, it is like, it gets into Battle Dome every once in a while.
Do you buy competitive fish just to have the competitive environment in there? Because I think that would be absolutely awesome.
No, I wanted to get a fish tank, playing off the whole title theme, but not do like, because if you get the saltwater tanks, like saltwater tanks it's $8,000 each. Fish is at $500. If the temperature goes up a degree, they all die. If it goes down a degree, they all die. They're beautiful, but I mean, it's too fragile.
It's not worth the risk.
African cichlids, I mean, these fish, they can live in toilet water for 2 days and you'll be good to go. So but they're feisty.
I definitely fed pop rockets to my grade 7 French teacher's fish tank, and yeah, that guy, it wasn't good.
Yeah. Experiments. Anyway, that's when the experiments began.
So before we jump in, everyone, we are live. So if you're checking this out, like Ahmed just wrote FPM represent. Ahmed, welcome. If anyone has any questions for Jay live, we do these episodes live so you can ask real-time questions. You want to ask about PureTorque, being a business owner, being an educator, being a father. He was talking about wearing some crazy hat just a moment ago. I don't know what that was about. If you have any questions about anything whatsoever, type it below and I'll ask Jay right away. But Jay, man, you are a man of many talents and many jugglings. PureTorque, gym owner. I mean, honestly, if you don't mind me asking, first and foremost, how do you divide your time?
Yeah, I mean, I think as they go, sort of one just rolls into the other, and I remember being at an RTS class. It must have been like 15 years ago, and one of the other class participants was from China, and his big thing was, he said, you want to make sure that you get paid to do something you love to do, and then you have a second source of income, and then you have a hobby that you can also make money off of. And he's like, if you do that, if you diversify your streams that way, you'll always be successful. And I was like, oh, it's really interesting, and then just in going through the education process and as we're kind of learning about training and about how people's bodies work and how we can manipulate resistances and how we can play with stuff, it's like, oh, this might be a cool idea. Let's see what this looks like. And let's start cobbling stuff together. And then it just happened to be something we cobbled together in a body part, I guess, or an exercise world of the core, which just tends to be a something you can make a profitable business off of. And so I don't know which one is doing. I think so far training is the thing I love, and then education is kind of the hobby, because I mean teaching classes is just I laugh because I call my wife every time I go out to a class. And it'll be like the morning and I'll be like, oh, I really don't, this is just all day. I'm inside. I just don't want to. And the second you get in there and you get in front of the students or the other trainers who are really your peers, and you start talking exercise and stuff. And every time we're going through a body part or every time we're going through a class, something will come up that'll just generate this new idea for these other things you can do. It's like, oh, this is really cool. Now we can also do this, and so it just makes training so much better. And so it's just, you come out just energized and recharged and ready to go. And then, then that would lead the PureTorque to being sort of the second stream of income that's a completely different mindset of challenge. And so it comes out very well rounded. You should try it.
The PureTorque? We're trying all the things.
No, you should try different things. Yeah.
Oh,
You got,
dude,
well, look, you have podcasting, training, business owner, podcaster. Let's flip it around. Let me interview you next hour. I'll interview you.
I'll
We'll
tell you
do
what,
it.
you can interview me anytime, man. But I mean, that fellow that you're talking about, I mean, that's what I really love. I mean, honestly, training, I got the same thing, same as you. I absolutely love it. I still do it full time. And if I were financially free tomorrow, I would still do it because there's people I love seeing. We've got the educational marketing stuff in the podcast kind of together, and that is a business as well. And it's a lot of fun, but it keeps me going. And then my hobby is all the drum stuff. And
Yeah.
and there's money to be made there. I literally have a book to be published that is going to come out. But kids.
Yeah. They're always there. They're always, but yours are so young right now.
Yeah, but
Yours are,
they're right.
so
They're like mobile potatoes. Like they're fast in like small spaces, but you still got to keep up.
yeah. You're locked in for the next, I don't know, you're not locked in for the next 10 years. And then like mine right now are 13 and 10, and I'm almost a nuisance. Like I'm a pitching machine. I'm a pitching machine for my son. And then I'm an Uber Eats driver for my daughter. So I mean, you'll get some free time. It just takes a little bit.
Awesome. Well, Jill Hurst Stump, I hope I said that right. She says hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Jill.
So listen, man, I mean,
I'm
yeah,
sure Katie's nearby, I hope.
What's that?
I hope Katie's nearby.
Business
just
partner.
Jill participating. Yes.
Got it. Hey, man, so PureTorque.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
talked about this before. We actually did a part one. So anyone who's listening to this, please, you can go back. We talked about a little bit of the origin because I remember you talked about that you were working on dealing with some cool core ball exercises, and then it just seemed like there was a better way to do it. What is new? 2022. What's new and exciting with PureTorque? What are you excited about with this crazy device coming up this year?
Yeah, so there are two big things that we're really focusing on this year. Secondarily, because it's a quick one, is the rehab version of it that we're excited about. Just something that's going to be a little more accessible for multiple populations that can't get to, that have gripping issues, have shoulder issues, have really any kind of upper extremity limitation, where holding a 5-pound device with resistance and trying to manipulate it, and it's too much. And so this is going to be, it's going to be a very cool semi-wearable, nothing you would take to a bar or restaurant, but it will be somewhat wearable, which is nice. So that's the second thing. The first one is we're looking at starting a continuing education course for an introduction to this device, and all of what you can do. Because as we started looking at it, I invented it as a training device, as something for my clients specifically for other people to be able to get that sensation of actually what it feels like when you're creating trunk rotation, and then be able to expand on that. And then as I'm using it and giving presentations for golf coaches or hitting coaches, or people in different industries where it comes to more tactile education, it's become this really cool teaching tool. And this whole, what I took for granted as far as, look, you can just hand this to people, give them a light cue on their hips, and off they go. Where it's like, oh, this disassociation or this top half moving on lower half, that's something my golfers can't do. That's something my tennis people aren't accessing. And so all of a sudden it became this, all right, so there's a teaching component to this where we can actually use this as a teaching tool. And then this whole idea of prepping and getting ready for workout and getting ready for explosive movement and getting your body ready to generate the most amount of force possible, and maybe manipulating some of this, post activation potentiation, and maybe manipulating some of these environments where you can, really, really, really up the motor unit recruitment, and then, let's really wind this thing up and put the toy on the floor and watch it go and see what happens. And
Yeah.
so we decided, we're looking at it, it's like, so we've got to, and it was just a simple conversation with an Instagram influencer guy, and he's like, look, I've learned less from courses uh, that I've paid for just in what we've had here. You can build this and make it an easy course and put it online, and so I think it would be extremely valuable because it's moving just beyond what you can get from watching a 30-second video, and it's giving you the ability to take some knowledge and then go, okay, in what angles, in what parameters, how can I manipulate this even more, how can I play even further.
I mean,
So
you said a bunch of things there that we got to talk about because that's all sick stuff. But I mean, I think I said this before really quickly. Your Jill here, she did say she's trying to get Katie on here now. So good call there. But I mean, and I said this before, but anyone who hasn't heard me say it, I mean, I was when I saw you release PureTorque, I'm like, oh, that's a really neat idea. When I got my hands on one and actually tried it, the experience tactilely and what I could do with it and what my clients could do with very little education and the doors that it opened, it was really game changing, really game changing.
yeah,
Because, I mean, when you're doing the ball version, you do have this weird, like you have anyone who's not familiar, you got a ball and you got a cable in your one side hand or however you've attached it. There's an awkwardness of dealing with this moving thing. Then you do it with your hands and how much torque there is at the shoulder. That's a whole other beast. But when you've got a device that's closer to you, and you can use different parts of your body to have the most surface area to control it. I mean, it's great. I got people who
yeah,
have like poor body control across the board, however you want to, like poor kinesthesia to the max, and they can do
yeah,
great things with it, to hip rotation focus, to pelvis motion, to trying to focus on thoracic, to shoulder motion on ribs. It's incredible. I mean, you've got a great idea. I mean,
yeah.
I wish I invented it because I feel like there's so many cool ideas with marketing and advertising where you could just blow this thing up, dude. It's a great idea and a niche market because core's a thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's really, I mean, and you can do this. I mean, it's not like, trust me, it's it's a long road and there are steps, but it's and it's funny because like answering and trying to respectfully answer Instagram and Facebook comments on our advertising and stuff like that, and it really depends on the time of day, which that ad comes in or which the comment comes into what my response is. But trying to be as respectful and as progressive as possible with it, um, uh, you can they're arguing with me, and I'm trying to explain to them I'm not creating this argument. I'm introducing this scenario of being proximally restrained and distally loaded, and once we introduce that thing, there's not much you can tell me that is going to disagree with physics, and or that I'm going to listen to. I should say. And so once I keep trying to explain, look, you're not arguing with me. I know you think this is the same as throwing a medicine ball against the wall. I've tried to point to you the ways in which it's not. I know you think it's the same as doing a Pallof press. I'm trying to point out the ways which it's not. But you're not we're traveling down two separate roads, and it's one of the reasons why we want to direct towards this education course, where it's like we want something to be, look, you don't need to own this device to to spend 40 or $50 on an education course, and get the lowdown of what's working with trunk mechanics, how you're loading this stuff properly, what's going on internally as far as we can tell with a healthy spine and with muscle attachments and with force angles and stuff, and then make your own decisions from there, and then create your own equipment, and see what you can do, and
All the
take
cool
this knowledge to other joints.
Yeah. I was going to say, honestly, dude, when you're talking about this course, I think that's a great idea. And we can talk about this later if you want. I think you should do it and give it away for free on YouTube. Like, I think you should make it like a free, don't make it a money making venture, and teach people here's how you get an absolutely sick core development, and like get shredded people using your sick stuff or a version of it at least, and give it away for hour-long
Yeah,
things before like this. And then you'll have people are going to buy it like crazy, man, because once people like see it in action and experience it, I mean, and I want to come back to
yeah,
the like it's the same as the other stuff conversation because that's important, but
yeah.
I can't see how people won't buy it.
But yeah, it's the experience thing. It really is. And I've tried to get as many people as of in our cohort that I can, when they're trying this for the first time with a client, please have have a camera out, and not while you're training, because I'm not a proponent of that. Not while you're training them, but have your camera out on their face and watch their first rep with the PureTorque, and everyone, to a person, their face lights up because it's a sensation they haven't experienced before.
Okay, well, I'm going to
And
ask
it's,
everyone
yeah,
who's listening to this now or in the future, if you own a PureTorque, do me and us a solid favor. I want you do what Jay said, but I want you to take your phone in like high mode. Let's go. What do you want to use? Tell you what, film a video,
it's always, yeah,
go
always
wide angle,
landscape, always landscape.
record a quick 30-second clip telling Jay why the PureTorque is awesome, and send it to him, because I think you need more people advocating for this thing. I mean, I think you got such a great thing. Let's get more people talking about it.
Cool.
So, hey, listen, let's do this. I'm going to make the camera solo for a second. For anyone who is listening or watching, don't worry, you're good. Tell me about, no, can you explain the PureTorque? You got one beside you. Can you show everybody what it is and talk about it a hair for a second?
Yeah.
So anyone who's listening, go to the video, Fitness Pro Mentors Facebook group, or on YouTube, and check out Jay's PureTorque.
Yeah. So the PureTorque, it's a cable or elastic attached, really body cam. It's this device that you're engaging to your trunk in any position which it might feel comfortable. And I'm going to stand up here and see if I can keep myself on frame. Any position where it might feel comfortable. And it's a trunk rotation aid. And if you're familiar with our mechanics terms, we're literally just creating a cam out of your body. So we're augmenting and manipulating the resistance profile of any kind of resistance that would pull you in this plane in rotation, or if you're turning it around in extension, if you have the resistance pulling up from beneath you, or if you have the resistance pulling from above you and behind into flexion. And so it's a tool that just helps augment how resistance is coming into your trunk, and it directs it directly to your core muscles, because everything is loaded through this chest plate and then goes out to this end plate. And we got about 21 inches of distance from chest to end, which is about the length of somebody's arm if it's slightly bent, something like that. And so we're able to recreate the traditional trunk rotation exercise, except we're able to eliminate all your scapular and shoulder involvement by compressing it into your chest, sternum, or abdomen, whichever feels most comfortable.
So my question now, because I absolutely love it. I mean, again, anyone who's listening to this, and if you are interested in getting better core training for your clients, you want to try some new stuff, and we're going to talk about sports performance in a second here. Really excited about it. Definitely give it a shot. Buy one of these things. I think they're sick. You talked about a medical version, and I'm just super interested if you could offer any like tidbits of little, because I'm excited about that. I know I was going to get another one, but now I might actually hold off. You know, I don't know. I want to hear what's going on.
Yeah. Lighter and a different restraining system that makes it more accessible to people, even if you're partially limbed, and especially because the way, in looking at this, looking at the limitations that people have, as you go through, if I step back, sort of like as you go through creating a device like this, what starts to happen is the entirety of the second sort of part of my educational or professional life becomes looking into trunk exercise and looking into core exercises and what are they, and how does all this stuff work? What's it supposed to do? What's it not supposed to do? All that business. And at the same time, it's like looking at, well, when people get broken down, when they get jacked up, when they go to physical therapist office, when people have herniated discs, when people have is it 80% of the people on the planet at this point are getting herniated discs? When people are getting laminectomies, when people are getting spondylolisthesis, like all of these spinal cord injuries that they're going through some sort of rehab for, whether they need it or not, it's a completely different topic, but they're going through some sort of physical therapy for this ailment. What are their opportunities? What can this person do? So you have somebody with a weak core and they have a poor trunk, hip, and when we're saying when we're I'm using the word trunk a lot. When I say core, I don't mean just your abs, and I don't mean just your abs and back. Your hips are included. Your scapular muscles are included. Everything that is going to stabilize the muscles connected to your spine, and then everything that's going to be stabilized to allow them to produce force. So, I mean, we have a really global definition of the word core, and that's another thing sort of that we'll go into in the course. But when you have these people that have some sort of compromised ailment, are not in good condition, and then their rehab exercise is this completely, for us, distally loaded, or this completely removed thing where they're getting a little bit of resistance and they're doing this, and it's like, way to go, Frank, you're doing awesome. And it's like, well, no, Frank, you're not doing anything. But it's not your fault. It's that there's nothing out there for them to use. You can't have these people really excurt into spinal extension or flexion too far safely. So what are their safe options? What do they have that can create contractions around their spine to help stabilize it actively? And so that's what we're creating the device for. So it's not going to be nearly as robust. It's not going to be nearly as heavy, and it's going to be something that can be stabilized without any kind of external implements. So we'll that's as far as I can go right now.
Should I wait
So
before I get another one, Jay?
yeah, we can talk off air.
Okay, sick. Cool. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, that's the nice thing about product development. I mean, whatever it's a service or an actual product, is you create something and then you discover the problems and you go, okay, well, this is great here, but here's where we can make a change. So that's absolutely great. And by the way, I'm going to hold him accountable publicly. Gary Augustine Warren, badass name, is going to do a video for you. And he said will do. So if he doesn't, everyone in the world in this Fitness Pro Mentor community, let's call out Gary. Thank you, Gary. Everyone else, please send Jay a video.
And what it's interesting because, like, the finding out the problem thing, and in the development of this whole deal was the whole thing that I sort of I never respected the fact that not only do we have to solve the problem, we have to introduce to the public that there is a problem. And so with the way this is getting delivered, with the way core exercise is packaged, with all of that stuff, and so it's like, so now not only do you have to solve a problem, you have to let people know that there actually is a problem. And then not only here's your problem, but here's the device that can help you with that problem. And so that was a step that I didn't fully respect when entering this endeavor. Like I don't know why, but it didn't even register that there would be such a gap in just knowledge of actually, well, no, this is totally different. Here's why. And then not only is that why, it's like we're talking about a really limitation in effectiveness with what you're doing right now.
You know, there's in our little mentorship, we talk about, I mean, everyone talks about features and benefits of products or a service, right? The features is what something has, the benefits is what something does. And when we advertise anything, most people talk about the features and then the benefits, right? The features of this car is it's got leather seats, and the benefits a really comfortable ride. That's great. Most people aren't saying, like, you know, luxurious cars. They say Jaguar. And then most of the time when they do that, they talk about the experience. Features and benefits are fine, but from all of our, at least from the service perspective, and I believe it lines up with the products, it comes down to not the features and the benefits, but it comes down to what it means to the individual and the dream outcome / the pains that it solves. And so if you've discovered, I mean, in my opinion, you got a lot of pains that you're solving with this thing. And I don't mean like physical pains, but sometimes so.
Sure.
And if you can smash that and show everyone, hey, I understand your problem. This is the thing that's going to give you the dream outcome. I mean, I think it's sick. I think you got something really, really cool there. I'm glad you came to that. You figured that stuff out, because that stuff's going to be game changing for you.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope it's game changing for other people. It's game changing for me and my clients right now, right? And now,
no such thing as hope, man. We're going to make it happen. You're making it happen. You're going to make it rain.
Okay.
So, sports specific training. We were chatting before this. You said you got some cool stuff on the go with some performance stuff, and I'd love to hear what you're doing.
Yeah. So our friend Jacques over at Exercise Design Lab and we've been going back and forth on this education course, and so we're looking at this model, at this core model, and sort of this is kind of like one of our education toys. There's 0% chance of me getting this angled properly to where I can make it happen. But we're looking at just if we're just looking at sort of the foundational components of the anterior side of your core musculature, the stuff that really has a huge moment to rotation, and how when I'm coming, this is, and I don't know what it looks like for the kids at home, but I'm coming into left rotation, and as I come into left rotation, you can kind of see that left external oblique in pink getting really tight. And then not only getting really tight, it's getting a steeper angle. And you can see that dark red rectus, which is getting a really steep angle to pull me out of that rotation. And so all of a sudden we have this thing where if I'm going into left rotation and I have this, let me see, yeah, this internal oblique over here and this external oblique right here, pulling me into that rotation, right? And it's getting shorter and it's falling out of alignment with creating more rotation. So wow, okay, so now all of a sudden I have all of these muscles that are getting, and you can see that purple right underneath, that purple internal oblique really sort of get tight and get angled and get long. And so then the further over I twist and I let that go, the more bounce I get, the more spring I get. If I just give a little turn, it's a little bounce. But if I really crank it, I get a ton of bounce. So we started looking at that, and I started watching on Twitter. There's this guy, and he's not a sponsor, I don't think, but Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja. So I started watching just hitting videos and just these, and what's great now is you can just segment down just a pitch and a throw. And I'm watching these guys, and I grew up a baseball player. I know in Canada it's just hockey, but it works with hockey too. I started watching these guys, and there are guys who are pitching from the set, and that's basically where there's no, like, the wind up is you take a big step back, you rock back, you throw your shoulder, you launch your whole body, and you do all this crazy stuff, and the ball comes out of your hands at 98 miles an hour. And so that was 80s and 90s pitching. And now it's just a litany of guys who are just standing there calmly at the belt on the mound, and they just pick their leg up in a nice easy stride, and then they snap, and then all of a sudden this ball's coming out of their hands at 100 miles an hour. And I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, God, that's without any leg drive. And so then I just start picturing everybody with no arms and legs, and the hitting motion from the trunk and the pitching motion from the trunk, it's the same. It's top half and lower half. It's the same deal. And then I start thinking, well, yeah, and if it's soccer, it's just an inverted plane. So we're going back and forth with what, it's like, okay, well, if somebody comes into you, all right, so Brandon, someone comes into you, again, Canada, hockey player, they want to increase their slap shot. What exercises are you offering them? What stuff, what are you thinking of?
How deep do you want me to go?
What stuff are you doing? Huh?
How deep do you want me to go?
I don't know, just like what are just some fun exercises you do for creating power and rotation?
So one of my favorite things I love to do is trying to figure out the full range that they're going to be doing if they're standing, from like a shortened when they're hitting the puck to mid range to shorten.
Right.
Setting up a dynamometer to figure out from right to left if there's differences, and then if I see a difference, doing some eccentric, like maximal voluntary eccentric contractions, provided it's okay, into that position with the cable where I'm kind of adjusting it. So nerdy stuff.
Sure.
Using a PureTorque, to be honest.
Of course, using a PureTorque. That's obvious.
A pure idea.
One of the things, and so now I go onto my YouTube deep dive and Instagram deep dive where all information is disseminated right now. And I start going through power exercises for exit velocity, power exercises for driving distance, swing speed, all of these trigger terms that, increase your bat speed by 1,000,000 miles an hour, like all of these pie in the sky, amazing things. And all of them, 100% of them, okay, let's go 90% of them. 10% are about deadlifts and explosive hip extension and stuff. which I totally get and is awesome, and ground forces are super important. But when you're looking at swings, it's all about sequencing. And so what we did is we went back to this model, right? We went back to this model, and it's like, okay, so we have this whole thing of priming aside, where when I'm going into my backswing, I'm priming that. And then every single one, pitcher, batter, soccer player, golfer, every single person, the first thing to happen, right? The first thing to happen as this comes back is you hit this area of this prime part where this lower half punches forward. It's a quick snap forward, and that snap forward increases, right, all of the tension on all these fibers that are already getting a ton of tension and already getting into alignment to help more rotation. That little punch forward, it's microseconds, but that punch forward is followed by the rest of it going. And so your priming mechanics are so much more important than your driving mechanics when it comes to creating power. And 90% of the exercises out there and 90% of the talk when it comes to how do I increase exit velocity, bat speed, club head speed, slap shot power, kicking power, all that, it's all about drive side mechanics and drive side exercises. None of it is about loading that, priming those tissues, and then getting that little hip snap to sequence. And we call that rotational prime, because that's the spot. Once those hips go, think about how much force all of those priming muscles need to create in order to stay here at end range when your lower half punches over. And so it was like, holy cow, that it's all of this power game. And I used to in class, I would always use the pinball machine analogy, except anyone under 45 doesn't even know what a pinball machine is. Like their dad used to talk about them, or I saw it at a junkyard once. And now I just think of those, like, I think of those chuckets, you know, those things that everybody has for their dogs where you can just snap it forward. It's basically just a catapult.
Yep.
And so if you were to hold one of those chuckets like this and pull the head back and let it rip, the further you pull that head back, the further that ball's going to launch. If you do a little bit of pullback, it's not going to go very far. It's a similar thing going on with your trunk. And all of these exercises to generate force and end load clubs and do all of this stuff throwing and all this stuff driving without really initiating that priming sequence where you're driving that shoulder back, you're really contracting, really getting everything short, because everything you're getting short going one way, the other stuff that, you know, our core, our spine is designed to, as efficiently as possible, counter rotate, right? It's probably the most efficient muscular structure in the human body, because because everything, as you're moving out from mid-range, everything that's moving out wants to pull you back in, and vice versa. So the more intention I can put into priming that side, the shorter I can get those priming muscles, the more loaded I can get into my backswing or onto my prime side, the more power I'll be able to generate coming out of it.
Okay, so I got a
And
question
so,
about that.
yeah,
Sorry, if you don't mind.
sure. No,
Very
no,
quickly,
totally. Ask away.
very quickly, your Katie Davis is here now. She said, "I'm here now."
Okay. Whew.
So, Katie Davis,
All right.
I'm here now. Thank you so much. Okay, so some interesting things there, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me that if you go all the way, I mean, I think you use prime rotation, but you prime it, you go all the way back to that fully active contractile position. You're completely at a lengthened end, but actively. And my words, I would say, is that you're using your pelvis, and you're kind of leading with the pelvis, and you are at the plastic end of trunk rotation, and you're using that energy to help you come all the way through. Is that fair? Before I ask my question.
Yeah, possibly. Okay. And again, and what's really fascinating is you're getting to that active end, so that active end of rotation for whatever it is for you, for whatever it is at that time, but wherever your body can take you into. And then the first thing that has to happen is your pelvis has to snap in order for that sequence to follow.
Right.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this is so I would say that I am not a sports guy. Like I played hockey.
Yeah,
I'm a fast runner. I did my own self
Canadian. Come on.
training. Yeah, hockey, Canada. Hey, but I didn't like I worked with hockey athletes, but it was on a different end when I was doing that stuff. So I'm thinking like if
Mhm.
I'm thinking about the things you're talking about, and we're trying to get someone to go from that 95 to 100 miles an hour or whatever it is.
Mhm.
A lot of the things I've thought about, and I think other people have too, is that if you're using something like a PureTorque to work on trunk rotation, the idea of staying in a controlled contractile, like a controlled end range of motion, so where you're not fully
Sure.
stretched, and working on in an isolated segment, working on generating power through that range, like working on generating force just through the trunk rotators
Yeah.
or just through the pelvis or through the hips. And I'm thinking of it very like locally, concentrically force production to try and get through this
Yeah.
so you can make that impact. Do you
Yeah.
think that that is inefficient? And if someone were working on that top end performance, that working on this prime sequencing of like getting all the way to that end range and leading with the hips and working on that force production, like I know it's not super salad, like it's not as simple as this or that, but do you think
Yeah.
doing what the initial concentric generating in the local area is declination? There's a declination in performance rather than working on what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we're talking about, again, specifically, and it's one of the cool things with the Pure Torque is we're not talking about strength training here. We're talking about, well, I'm talking specifically about increasing this person's ability to output. And when you then take that next step out and you say, okay, um, this person is going to do this highly what's the word for it, it's completely engrammed into their brain how to do this swing. This thing is patterned as can be, from a wrist, hand, elbow, shoulder, and foot compare, you know, that whole deal. It's everything they have that they've been doing forever. um, they're going to go about doing that with their bat or with their club or with their stick or whatever they're using, no matter what we do. Now, I would posit that they would get more benefit from spending more time training the priming side of that motion than they would from, with load, training the drive side, because the drive side is an explosive reflexive contraction that's going to happen anyway. That's going to happen the best it can happen. Now, what we can do, I think, as trainers, is we can engage more of that. Let's bring more guys to the table. Let's try to bring as many fibers as we can to the table. Let's get as much force production as we can into what would be unfortunately called counter rotation for swing, but why we call it priming. And it's one of the reasons I love the word priming, because the whole idea is you're making it ready. You're priming something. When you prime a pump, you're getting that pump ready to go. And you're doing the same thing. You're priming this side. You're priming all the tissue that's going to then that's pulling you back to then allow you to snap out of it and perform your event or perform your swing. And it's only coming it only we only were going back and forth about it so much because it's something that's just not, it's not discussed at all. It's all about drive side mechanics. It's all about explosive motion onto your drive side. It's all about going in one direction. And and I got to tell you, it's the other direction that's so much more important, because that's what's going to put all of those drive side muscles into play.
You know, it's so funny. I mean, again, hockey. I spent a few hours of time in the Dallas Stars training room, which is super cool. I've never
Mhm.
seen any of them really, even though a lot of what they do is a lot of transverse plane force production stuff. I've really never seen any of them do anything like this. Like you're talking about, there is like a very linear way to athletic performance. And when you're working on any sort of spine core midsection force output thing, they don't even think of it as such. They really are like limited to the Pavlov press and throwing balls and,
Yeah.
you know, front to back deadlift squat style stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really fascinating when we're looking at sort of hip mechanics and stuff, it's when you see a balanced swing, or when you see these guys who are able to generate 100-mile-an-hour fastballs without really ever stepping, with just creating a motion, all of that explosive motion that's coming from that backside hip, there's a counterforce coming from your front side adductors, internal rotators, to create that snap, Because if that's not there, then all that explosive hip extension, all the deadlift squat, all those explosive jumps you've been doing, all that's going to do is just push you off the screen. And that's not the goal when you're talking about a rotational athlete. The whole thing is you want to create as much force in rotation so that hip's got to come so that you're balanced. And so that when you're done with your swing, whether it be, you don't really see many golfers do their long drive and then fall over 4 steps and walk off because they're so out of balance, except if they mess their drive up. But it's finished. It's the solid pose. It's, whatever they want to do. They can drop the clubs, put their hands up, however they want to celebrate, they can celebrate. And we work on the celebration. That's a completely different session, the celebration sessions.
A pure celebration?
Yeah, it's pure celebration, sure. But it's all about getting those hips to go and then having that upper half follow.
Right. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, it sounds like there's an absolute opportunity to influence the athletic performance world, because, I mean, it does sound like a gigantic problem. I mean, they're not doing, I don't know about skill side of it. I don't know anything about that, but I would say, like, from the training exercise side of it, they're not doing any of this either.
Right. Yeah. And you could be this, I'm not saying throw out drive side mechanics and drive side training, but if that's all you're doing, you're missing the boat. You're missing a huge part of the boat because you're not working. And those are two different things. And so, like, when we train, like, if we have a baseball player and if we have a golfer in, and they have some kind of event coming up or they have some kind of game coming up, they're the two rotational. It's not all right, twist to the right 10 to 12 times, now twist to the left 10 to 12 times. It's we're gonna go onto your prime side and we're gonna do slow isometric contractions, and you're gonna hold that position, and we're gonna lock that position, and we're gonna fatigue it, and then you're gonna come out a little bit, and then you're gonna get back in there, and then we're gonna work on getting that stuff as challenged and as much output as we can. And then when you're doing the other side, we're going to lighten the load up, and we're going to work with quick, explosive snap through, because for their event or for their sport, that's how their body is going to be used. And so let's get stuff ready that way.
So could you expand on how, like, what kind of exercises would help that you would choose for these kind of options? I mean, obviously you're talking about some specific body parts leading, but I mean, as far as exercise selection goes.
Yeah, exercise. So exercise selection, where we'll traditionally start with an isometric, and we'll use some variable resistance with the isometric, either by pulling on the cable or band, and just locking down and holding the position, and then we'll integrate lower half motion into upper half rigidity. And again, just to pull this thing out, just because it's easy, it's right here. Most exercises are upper half motion, lower half stable. There's a whole world of upper half stable, lower half challenge that's super vital when it comes to teaching trunk rotation and teaching that separation, but also getting someone's body ready for motion, ready for resistance. Because you want to create a scenario where you have this rigidity up top, and then you can just sort of shimmy those hips and just get those hips moving. And then as they get warmed up and get prepped, we'll start expanding range, and then start bringing lower body mechanics into it, letting your knee dip in as you rotate, getting your heel up and becoming more of a full body motion. And so we'll go with that first. Then if we want to do any kind of another really cool way you can do some variable resistance with the PureTorque isometrics is either by marching forward and marching back with the anchor to the side of you. And as you start stepping forward and that anchor falls behind you, that resistance is going to start dropping off. And then as you start walking back, it starts picking up again. And it's a really cool way to get some small, shifty feet down low while you're keeping your hips still and your trunk still, just marching forward and back. And then from there, with the anchor point slightly in front of you, we'll do some prime side, 5-6 second isometric contractions, slow controlled motion, coming out of it slow, just real mindful, real internal focus, and then spin around, and with the anchor slightly behind you, just doing some quick explosive snap motions for your drive side. And
love
that
it.
would be how, and you can prep. And one of the cool things is you can prep for your event in 15 minutes, less 10 minutes. It's such an easy way to just anchor it to something rigid, the back of your car, a fence, and just go through these simple mechanics, and it's everything from your knees, to your ears is going to be ready to go.
I love it, man. Really quickly, I know the answer to this
Yeah.
question, but Gary Augustine Warren said, "Is that trunk model available for purchase anywhere?"
No, it is not.
I'll tell you what. There's a whole other. You could pure rotation models right there. There's a whole other business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, it's yeah.
So I want to
Go
ask
ahead.
you like maybe one last kind of like performance-y question, and I think that might be like a good place where we can slowly start wrapping up this thing, because I gotta say you gave
Yeah.
us some beauty gems. This is, and let me know where you want to take this. What's funny is, and when you're talking about like trunk rotation performance, that
Yeah.
Pavlov press I see everywhere. And
Yeah.
I think it is mostly hot garbage. I think there's an
Yeah.
application for it, and I understand what Stuart McGill and a few of these guys are doing from spinal stability, spinal health. I think there's some interesting things you can do with segmental control with it. But when it comes to like aggregate rate of force development performance for any sort of transverse plane athlete, I think it's a waste of time. I didn't say it's a waste. It's mostly a waste. There's a better uses of your time.
Yeah. Well, what's also fascinating is, and we talk about class a lot, is it's always done in neutral.
Yeah.
Why can't you put yourself into rotation and do it? If you have to do this exercise,
Yeah.
I mean, I get enough pec work. I mean, I have chest days Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, so I get enough pec work. I don't need an abdominal pec exercise. I don't know why, but I don't get why, because it comes from this world of training, and this is a huge one that I've just started hearing about. Brandon, did you know that the best way to train rotation is with anti-rotation?
I have heard that. I think it's really cool. Anti-rotation sounds pretty cool.
It's like antimatter. It's like antimatter, anti-rotation. It's like, ooh, sexy. I don't. If look, our spines are meant to be bent, to twist, to torque, to wrap around. If they weren't, they would look like our femurs. If this thing wasn't supposed to move, it should be shaped like my femur. Like, why is it not? It just makes absolute no sense. So if you're starting from that mindset where this is not supposed to move, then we can't really have discussions, because it's just patently false. And so how are you supposed to have a discussion that's with someone that's just their belief system is just patently false? And unfortunately, right, it's a belief system. It's not an education base. It's a dogma. And so that's where you get the Pallof press and the plank. Somebody planked for 25 minutes the other day. I have so many better things to do with my life than plank. You know how many different challenging exercises you can come up with than in 25 minutes? Oh my God. Like, I guess if you have the time and you're reading something, maybe it's better than just sitting on your couch and reading. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do the Pallof press.
I don't know, man. It's just like you said, it's a belief now, and it's ingrained in the squat culture and the spinal rehab culture, and there's just no way around it.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll have a better tool for spinal rehab. Not that they're going to use it, because it would require some spinal motion, but we have hopefully something coming on the way with some spinal rehab action.
Dude, Jay, I got to say, this was a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun talking about this stuff with you. There's stuff I didn't even ask you that I wanted to ask, but this was just a blast talking about crappy trunk rotation exercises. Well, I'll tell you what, I'd like to have you back on. I mean, you actually had a lot of people were here checking this out. You got a lot of engagement. People were excited for Mr. Braun, so I love it.
Cool. I'm excited for myself.
So and I love that you're training chest 3 days a week, man. I think that it's super cool, and bodybuilding.
Is that? I mean, other people don't do that.
No, that's
like
normal.
Monday's the throwaway day.
That's not weird.
You have to do. I mean,
no, that's normal. Yeah. Chest every day. Chest every day.
Where am I supposed to fit my legs in? I mean, that's the thing that's lacked the most. I mean, leg day with kids, nah, it just doesn't happen.
Dude, I do leg day every day. I clean up the toys.
Oh yeah, that's agility work.
agility work.
It's
So listen, dude, this PureTorque thing, I mean, it's incredible. We've got one. I got to be honest. I was going to bring it up. Last time I interviewed you, I brought it up and I showed it off, and I didn't bring it back down right away, and my guys were pissed. They're like, where's the PureTorque? Did you take it away? I'm like, okay, no. So I left it down there because people are using it right now. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay, like just as a closing piece, I mean, who would you say the PureTorque's for?
everybody. Only if you're interested. Only if you're interested in strengthening your core muscles, which again, earlobes to knees, and then below the knees, and then if you're interested in that, then the PureTorque is for you.
Love it.
And you have to be interested in effective workouts too. If you're pro wasting time and you want to do planks and you want to and you don't want efficiency in your workout, then this isn't the right device.
You heard Jay. He said if you're interested in effective workouts and not sucking, you got to buy the PureTorque. Hey, Jill says, thanks, Jay. Always keeping it real. We sure love our PureTorque at Fit One. Honestly, the thing is, it's really nice. Is like when I did your post today, I mean, this week to announce this podcast, a ton of people were really excited to have you on, man. Everyone loves the device you've created. You've really created a game-changing tool. And so thank you for all your hard work. Because, I mean, the investment, the time, the money, the energy, all of it, it's a ton to do something like this. So thank you for doing this. It's helping all of us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's something we love doing, man. It's a blast.
So everyone,
all day.
If you're listening, go buy a PureTorque right now, and it will bring you pure joy, and then you can pure celebrate once all your athletes are getting pure wins. Thank you so much.
Boom.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks.